Hello and thank you for joining us once again on Main Street Party of Four. Today we are at Three Bridges at Disney's Coronado Springs, and we are going to take part in Sangria University.
Welcome home!
All right, so immediately upon seating, we get here and we have chips and guac. They also give you a Sangria flight, which, if any of you have watched any of our other videos, you know that Renee loves a Sangria flight here at Three Bridges, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. And there's also some fruit and fruit juices sitting on the table, but Gary told us not to touch them, so we're not touching them.
As I said, my name is Noel. I am your Sangria sommelier for the day. I've been teaching this class since roughly mid-2019, just after we started getting our whole program together. I know of at least one student who's already taken this class before. Any others? Anybody going for their master's degree here today? A master's in drinking and consuming. That's not a bad degree to have. That'd be me.
I've had the sangria several times.
So we're well practiced. We've done our homework there. Excellent, excellent. So for us here at Coronado, we became an entity during our 2018 renovation. We were adding the towers in, and somebody was like, let's put some bridges in to shorten the distance for our guests. Unknown to a lot of you guys, we are the same landmass size as Magic Kingdom when it comes to our property. So it is a lot of walking for our guests. And they were like, if we have the bridges, that'll cut some time out of their travels, which is a wonderful idea. And then on top of that, one of them had the brilliant idea to say, let's put a bar right in the middle of the lake. They're going to be traveling. They don't want some cocktails. That's a brilliant idea. So let's go ahead and get that going. And from the idea of a bar became a full-fledged restaurant. In our restaurant here, as I said, we are a lot of traveling, so everything that we make and throw together has to be fresh and fantastic in this lovely building to my left here. All of that is purely kitchen, no indoor dining. Your food has to travel, it's going to be so delicious. As you can imagine, your guacamole up there in front of you wouldn't be so green, and that goes for all the rest of our food being fresh and fantastic to order. It's an absolutely beautiful thing for us, having some good quality food. You will be able to taste that in your guacamole. As I say, to enjoy, please enjoy at least the chips. Again, not all of us are guacamole people. For those of us that skip breakfast or midday snack, it is a lot of consuming we will be doing this afternoon. You have your lovely flight in front of you, which translates roughly to 2 to 3 glasses of sangria. And then on top of that, you will be making your own sangria as your classroom assignment for the afternoon. So those fruits, those juices, do not use them during our classroom time. We'll be using them at the end to get an idea of what we want to create and what we want to enjoy. So what I am going to ask us to do is now you have had a chance to settle during your time getting you settled into your seats. Go ahead and grab that lovely little stir spoon in front of you. Give everything a nice little mix. Beautiful sound of wind chimes in the afternoon. Very passionate about our sangrias here at Coronado. When we were first kind of coming together on ideas of what we wanted to throw on our menu and how we wanted to incorporate a lot of the ideas, one of us was like, hey, what about that time that Walt brought sangria to Disney World? And we were like, wait a second, tell me more about the store. From there, we were like, yeah, we could definitely build this restaurant around a couple of sangrias. So we started off with your traditional red, your traditional whites, something that you could kind of be familiar with flavor profile-wise. But we were like, let's get something for everybody. So we decided to throw in that sparkling and that rosé just to give different flavors, different palates, different ideas across the board for us. So what we are going to do is we're going to start off on the very top of that Sangria tower, that Sangria flight for us, with our sparkling. The sparkling is our Eskimosa Sangria, our most celebratory Sangria. So please look to your friends, your partners, your peers, say salud, cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
He's going to lean over eventually, right?
Alcohol. It should not be alcohol forward, it should be...
Party foul.
I promise that wasn't us. There's people over there.
On this side, there's a very, very strong stone fruit that we're picking up on this one. Peach. Peach, the strawberry you're picking up because it has that chance to marinate for a little bit, but peach is one of the biggest components for that sparkling sangria. For that one, we're using a sparkling Spanish cava as the base, essentially champagne made the same way as champagne, not made in Champagne, is made in Spain. And then we're using a pêche de vin, which is a peach French liqueur in flavor, so essentially taking that peach schnapps that you may be more familiar with, but just amplifying that peach flavor, getting more of a peach than a sugary finish off of that. And then we're using some lemonade and lime juice, so to give it a little bit of tartness, some balance, and all of that sweetness. That one's a lovely one for a day like today. We got a little bit of heat with the breeze, so it's nice and refreshing. Now the second one down on the flight, our Blanco Sangria is going to be the sweetest on the flight. Floral sweetness behind it, and then we're hitting it again with an orange rind essentially, because this is similar to a Grand Marnier, but just once again it packs that potency that spirit lacks. So you get sweetness from the Saint Germain elderflower, the Torres Magdala, and then we're going to top it off with a passion fruit puree. That's where we're going to get some additional sweetness from. So that one will be the sweetest on the flight to enjoy. The third one down on our flight for the afternoon is going to be the Rosado Sangria. The Rosado Sangria is what I like to describe as spirit forward. For those of us who want to be more classy in their everyday alcohol consumption, for those of us who like a good martini, for those of us who like good old-fashioned Manhattan, something that's basically just a pure alcohol at the base. We like the term spirit forward cocktail, makes it seem a little bit more presentable than just the term alcoholic beverage. This is the only sangria that comes with a complete disclaimer if you decided to dine with us here at Villa del Lago. I have had the pleasure of serving one lovely couple, decided to have these lovely couch seats to themselves, the gentleman and his wife. The wife says, "We want a picture of sangria, the rosé, please." I said, "Absolutely, 2 glasses." The gentleman says, "No, I don't drink sangria, I'm going to get an old-fashioned." I seem very confident in their ability to drink. I was like, "Yeah, that seems fine, it seems all right, we'll let this happen for today." The lady proceeds to drink the entire pitcher of rosé by herself in roughly a 40-minute time span or so.
We were told you guys wouldn't talk about us anymore.
This was supposed to be like down low. So once the missus finishes her sangria, she decides that it is nap time. She decides that she's going to take roughly about a 30-minute nap or so in my station. And after about 20 minutes or so, the husband's kind of tired of sitting around and waiting, so he says, "Hey, I have 2 friends at the bar. Whenever she wakes up, just send her my way." And I was like, perfect. I'm responsible for this lady that I have no knowledge of any kind of medical background, so I appreciate you, sir. So she takes her nap. She gets up in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I was like, all right, perfect. I'm getting my table back after such a long dining experience. She walks past her husband, and as we were entering in, we saw that lovely couch to your left, right in front of our doorway there, a little waiting space essentially. She lays out completely and decides to finish her afternoon in there for about another 30 minutes or so. So after that experience, I no longer serve the rosé sangria by the pitcher to a solo individual, just because my transportation fees are completely separate from my teaching and serving fees. If you expect me to walk you to your room, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. So, have we gotten a taste of this one yet? Yes. Yeah. All the spirits. That's a good one. Perfect. So for that one, we are using a rosé wine as the base for Rosado Sangria Rosé. We're also using a strawberry gin. The strawberry gin is a Porto de India strawberry gin, not a difficult bottle to come across. It's not typical to your regular gin. It's not super herbaceous. It's not super floral. You're going to get a lot more of that strawberry sweetness that you might be expecting from a strawberry liqueur in that gin. So light tones on the juniper, heavy tones on the strawberry, all alcohol that you're getting on the back end, and then we're going to hit that alcohol with apricot brandy. That brandy is really where you're going to get a lot of that fire from in that beverage as well. We try to do a raspberry puree to tone it down, but it does not quite tone down completely. So that's for our more adventurous people when it comes to our sangrias. So lastly on the flight is our tinto, the most classic, the most traditional, the one that we're all the most familiar with flavor profile-wise.
Very refreshing. Actually, not amazing.
3 super easy ingredients, very simple as I said. We're using a Spanish style garnacho, almost the equivalent of like an American Pinot Noir for us here. From there, we're going to use the Torres Magdala, again, that orange, of course, featured in the Blancos, again, featured in the Tinto.
It almost tastes plummy.
And then a little bit of orange juice. 3 ingredients, very clean, very nice, very typical.
Wow. It's got like a plum taste to it, but there's no plum anywhere in it.
It's probably the wine base that we use is very fruity on its own. It's not like sweet fruity, it's just more naturally fruity. And it's not very bold either, so you're not getting any of that dryness that you would get out of a Cabernet. So that's it. It's just perfect for the red wine, or perfect for the Tinto Red Sangria. So now we've all gotten a taste of this flight. Now we all have an idea of an order of preference, what we like the most, what we like the least. Right? Everybody should have a favorite in general. And I ask you this because when it comes to sangria here in America, we only have one rule. Use a base wine that you enjoy. Traditionally, there are no rules. You do whatever you please, but really the biggest golden rule is use a base wine that you love, that you enjoy in your everyday wine consumption, and that's the base that you're going to make to have a successful sangria for yourself. So for me, I traditionally drink through red blends and I Pinot Noir, so the Tinto is really my wheelhouse. I've been getting more into the sparkling and the champagne-esque beverages, so then I've been practicing more with my sparkling. So those two are really where my happy place will be, and as it should be for you guys. You should know what you like, you should know what you enjoy, and you should know what we're going to partake in later, because when I do ask you for your beverage, your sangria to make later, you're going to choose your base wine, and your choice is spirit or spirits floral based off of preference. And we're going to use the wine that we love, or at least love for here today, to at least get the idea and build of what we want to take back home for ourselves later. Now, as we talk about rules and talk about guidelines and how the United States classifies sangria, defines sangria, our opposites over in Europe take sangria very particularly. So as I referenced champagne earlier and how it has to be from a particular region and how it has to be made a certain kind of way, sangria in Spain is the exact same difference. It has 3 really particular rules to be defined as sangria when it comes to a Spanish sangria. Rule number 1 is all of our ingredients must be Spanish grown on Spanish ground, so whether that be Spain or Portugal, they must be Spanish ingredients. Rule number 2 is the whole bottling process from start to finish has to happen on Spanish grounds. Once again, whether that be Spain or Portugal. And then the ABV must be between 4% and 12% alcohol by volume. So when we're talking the flight that we've enjoyed today,
It's a big spread.
it's a big spread. When we're talking our flight today, the sparkling uses the Pêche de Vigne, the peach fresh support, so not counted as a true sangria. The Blanco uses the Saint Germain elderflower, not counted as a true sangria. The Rosado is far above that 12% ABV, not counted as a true sangria. So that leaves my Tinto, the classic style, as I said, the most similar. We have a Spanish-based wine, we have a Spanish-based liqueur. We do not have Spanish juice in there, unfortunately, because as we know, I live in Florida, the land of orange groves. I have several right down the road. I will not be importing orange juice from Spain for our sangrias when I have Florida's Natural Best to offer for you guys this afternoon. Huh?
Is there orange juice in Spain?
I'm sure there is.
So
Probably not. You know, we market that as our like specialty. Like we have giant oranges on our side of the road. So now we've gotten a taste of sangria. Now that we have an idea of the rules of sangria, what is sangria? What defines sangria, right?
fruity wine.
Fruity wine. So in this instance, and I'm going to not belittle you, but kind of explode you more so in an essence of some of us in our past experiences have taken a pitcher of ice, taken a bottle of wine, poured said bottle of wine over said ice, and said, friends, throw some oranges in there. I've made a lovely sangria for you guys, right?
Gotta add the Kool-Aid.
Where's the booze?
Sangria needs booze. You're talking 3 ingredients for a sangria, right? We're talking wine, spirit, juice. The fruits are extra. The fruits are your own design. But you need wine, spirit, juice to make a true sangria. If you're talking wine and spirit, you're making a fortified wine. If you're talking wine and juice, you are once again just watering your wine down like you did with the pitcher. Wine, spirit, juice is the whole ingredient to make an actual sangria for us. Ice is optional, I suppose, right? If you like your wine room temperature, I guess. But fruits are more subjective, I suppose. You know, I wouldn't disqualify fruits. No, because my picture made popcorn, green tea sangria, and I didn't like it, but the saltiness of the popcorn, you gotta spray it. So now that we're talking about rules as well, I don't have any rules in my class. If you need to go get more water, there's a water pitcher right there. If you need to go to the restroom, there's the restroom right in the front where you walked on by. You're free to talk amongst each other, just don't bother the rest of the class. The only true rule that I have for our class is look at this lovely little smiley face bell that I have. Everybody go, ooh. Ooh. Everybody go, ah. I love Gray as a teacher. He's the perfect counterpart to me because I was the kid who grew up saying C's get degrees. And Gray went to school to be a teacher. So we're very good at being opposite of each other and working against each other. That being said, there's sometimes when he can get a little stiff in his teaching methods. And I adore him, but he doesn't allow for fun in his class typically. That being said, I'm here to have all the fun for him. So what's going to happen is he's going to get very passionate, very involved, very in-depth when it comes to his classroom time. And I have this lovely little bell that I'm going to ring a little bit, right? Once you hear the bell toll, be as loud, be as cheerful, be excitable, just completely disrupt his classroom environment. That is all I ask, right? I want us to be the kids that still graduated, right? But we had fun doing it, and we're going to make fun of the good kids along the way.
A's and C's get the same diploma, brother.
100%.
You retake a test, you can't retake a party.
Hey! I like this. Very helpful.
Cheers.
Spirit!
I've been asked to see my degree, not my transcript.
100%. You gotta find me. You're gonna be pulling none of those records.
We're in the same school.
Alright, friends, so now we understand what sangria is. We have a taste for several different varieties of sangria. Now, how do we get to sangria? How do we evolve to sangria? How do we get to that topic of Walt brought sangria to Walt Disney World? So, of course, Walt gets involved in everything related to Disney.
Disney sponsors Cliff.
Yeah, we do. The minibus. So, as we talk about Spain being the essential hub for sangria, we are a Spanish-inspired resort. Spain were not the originators of sangria. Spain had no clue how to even make delicious Spanish wines. The first true culture to pioneer and invest into the idea of sangria as we know it today were the Romans, right? So for those of us who partake in wine on an average basis maybe, we'll open a bottle of wine. We don't want to finish a bottle of wine for whatever reason, whether it's not as good as we thought it would be, or I just got finished the whole bottle of wine by myself today. Whatever reason we didn't finish that bottle of wine, we put it in the fridge for about a day or two, and we say, let's go back and see if it's still enjoyable. What happened to that flavor? It oxidized. It starts to get vinegary. It's sour a little bit. It's not super enjoyable. And that's been wine since day one. And the first culture to understand this were the Romans. The Romans were like, we don't want to spoil good quality wine, so how do we refresh this wine, essentially? So they got the idea. They would take their herbs, their spices, their fruits, whatever they have readily available. They would put them in a pot for several days. They would filter the wine through a Hippocratic sleeve to get all the sediment out. It's not 11 versus prices. Is that 11 versus prices? Personal preference. Personal preference. So they would filter it through a Hippocratic sleeve, and that's how we had our first known form of sangria to record called a hippocras. So the Romans took this idea of a hippocras and just took off a little, made several different varieties. And Romans, being known for their love of wine, looked to the Spaniards and they're like, hey, how come you guys don't make delicious Spanish wines? How come you guys haven't imported anything, or how come we not trade routes in regards to our wines in general? And the Spaniards just didn't have any clue to make really good grapes or how to harvest really good grapes. So the Romans had an idea. They partnered with the Phoenicians. They said, hey, I know you guys are good with the alphabet.
Thank the Phoenicians.
That's great. I know you guys are really good with the alphabet. How about your wines? Let's take some grapes. Let's take them to Spain. And let's show them how to grow, how to harvest, how to turn these grapes into fantastic wine. So they did just that. They showed the farmers how to grow the grapes, how to turn these grapes into wine. And so when we're looking back at Spanish wine in general, and delicious Spanish wines in particular, we could turn to the Phoenicians and, we could turn to the Romans and thank the Phoenicians.
I was a little early, I'm sorry.
A little early. So, of course, Spain loves the idea of wine. They love the idea of the hippocras, and they just pioneer it to be their own thing. They're like, well, we can definitely make this our national beverage. We can make this our beverage of choice. So why not? So they essentially perfected this idea of hippocras, and somewhere along the way, there's no definitive time frame for when this happens. There's no landmark term of it turns from hippocras to sangria. All we know along the way is somebody in Spain, people of Spain, saw that sangria naturally was just very dark red. It looked like the color of my blood. So they would call it sangre. Sangre, when it comes to the Americas, eventually evolves into sangria. And for those of us who aren't so perfect with rolling any of our R's, we just go from sangria to sangria. So along the term, it just kind of gets butchered from hippocras to sangria along the way. So as I said, it is a very Spanish popular thing. How does it get over here? Well, of course, through colonization. They take it over, they bring it over in their ships, they show us how to make it, and us as Americans really don't pick up on it through history. It's a popular beverage of choice for the Spaniards, yes, but for us, we as Americans love our wine unmuddled. We as Americans love a good, nice bathtub bourbon, something strong, something hot, nothing too muddled, nothing too crazy. So for us during the American Civil Wars, when sangria falls off the map, nobody's really making it, nobody really has it, the idea of it in general just goes away for us.
No.
Are we ready?
Yeah, give me the bell.
That was by far the best that I've ever had. I greatly appreciate it. Because he tried to talk through it and now he can't. It is beautiful, it is beautiful. He's getting back on track. But anyways. So yes, the Spanish brought the sangria, the hippocras to the Americas. We're not a big fan of it, but it falls off the map for us. It's just not our cup of tea, essentially. And that's not until the 1960s that sangria makes a true emergence for us. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. We're going to go to the state of New York, where my New Yorkers at. Hard-headed as ever. That's right. You guys are in good context here for the most part. So in the 1930s, a gentleman by the name of Robert Moses, familiar name I'm saying, decided that he was going to pave over a giant dump area, turn it into a park called Flushing Meadow Park. He's going to add some pavilions in there and turn it into what should be a fantastic idea of a World's Fair. He said, I want to host a World's Fair. I want to make sure that I go down in history as one of the most successful proprietors, essentially, of a World's Fair. and we're going to take this and we're going to go far. The state of New York is going to love me, the people are going to love me, and when I'm getting written about in history books, everybody's going to think so well of me. And unfortunately for Robert Moses, this World's Fair essentially goes down as one of the worst. Low attendance, nobody goes. We do have a world war going on that people are more preoccupied with. So it's not successful. It doesn't hit like it's supposed to, and people aren't super passionate about the World's Fair. And Robert Moses is defeated. He's like, I'm a complete failure. Just going to go back to doing what I was doing, and I guess we'll go on. Now we go back to the 1960s, and now the state of New York is more on board. They're like, hey, we're in time. It's our turn to host the World's Fair again. We're kind of ready to host the World's Fair. So they're like, well, who has some experience with the World's Fair before? What about that dude Robert Moses? He hosted one before. It was all right, right? Yeah. So they call up Robert Moses, and Robert Moses is in awe. He's super excited. He's like, this is my chance to get my name in history books again. You're giving me a second chance. I would absolutely love to host the World's Fair. So Robert Moses gets the state of New York to invest the money into this property that he's already kind of let run down a little bit. And he says, all right, let's go ahead. We've got the property, we've got the space, let's go to the World's Fair Committee and present what we're ready to offer. At that same moment in time, the state of Washington decides that they're ready to host the World's Fair. They're preparing the Seattle Space Needle for their World's Fair event that they want to host. And they go to the World's Fair Committee together. And unfortunately for the state of New York, the World's Fair Committee decides to go to the city of Seattle, the state of Washington. They're like, this is just more our speed. We think it's going to present better. We like that. Just as a better choice. So
Have you ever been to Flushing? You'd rather
been
go to
York
Seattle
once.
too.
I've been in New York once. I don't think it's a need. So they went with the state of Washington. New York is kind of beat. They're like, well, I guess we can't host the World's Fair. Robert Moses is kind of unsettled. He's like, I think we can just still do it, right? Like, who's stopping us? And New Yorkers, being as hard-headed as New Yorkers are, like, he's right. Why don't we host the World's Fair anyways? Who needs these rules and guidelines? One of the biggest rules for a World's Fair is one country can only host a World's Fair once every 10 years. And Washington getting the 1962 World's Fair, we're nowhere near in line for our next World's Fair. But here comes the state of New York, and Robert Moses like, full speed ahead, we're hosting a World's Fair. Come on, because we're having a ball. And it's fantastic for them in their head. They think everybody's going to participate in 2 World's Fairs within such a small time frame. And they're not wrong. Some major countries are definitely slightly invested. Spain is one of the few that's teeter-tottering on the 50-50 line. Like, we don't want to overstep our boundaries, but we'd love to participate in the World's Fair. And the World's Fair Committee tells all major countries, you better not participate because it's a non-sanctioned event and you'll be punished accordingly if you do participate. So Robert Moses is sweating a little bit because now he's getting fight from the countries, fight from the big major players that normally present, normally participate. And now he has nobody to attend. What is he going to do? This is where our lovely friend from the West comes. He says, man, I love what Walt is doing over there in Anaheim right now. I think he's doing fantastic things in California. Disneyland is a fantastic hit. Maybe I could get Walt on board. So he says, find somebody to reach out to Walt for me, gets in contact with Walt. So Robert Moses gives Walt a proposition. He says, Walt, I've got this space, I've got this land, I've got all of this that I need your name on and for you to sign off on. And with your name, I think we could have a successful World's Fair. Walt just kind of put on to the idea. He's super excited. He says, at the current time, he was idealizing and trying to conceptualize his utopia of Epcot. And he said, you're paying me how much to design your buildings? I get the chance to see what works, what doesn't work, what the people like, what the people don't like, before I can even get my shovel in the ground? Absolutely, I would love to take part in this event and make sure that you pay me to just figure out what I like and what I don't like. Robert Moses in this discussion, of course, decides to ask Walt to bring on a couple of rides. Show the future of animatronics, see what Disney is doing well and is about to do better. So for my Disney bus, what are my 4 rides? Carousel of Progress, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. It's a Small World. Tiki Room is not. Tiki Room was supposed to be on the board, but he could not find a sponsor for it. There's one more. People Mover. I see it. So yes, It's a small world. It's the same exact location currently in Coronado. Once this World's Fair finished, he took the whole exact ride, brought it over to Walt Disneyland.
It's just Disney.
The People Mover, the predecessor, was Ford's Magical Sky Event, which is what he brought to the World's Fair. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln.
Best.
Is the predecessor to the Hall of Presidents. As we all know, Walt was very passionate about Lincoln. He loved Lincoln as a president. So he wanted to make sure that this was actually conceptualized and brought to us. So of course he brought the state of Illinois to sponsor that. And then not least, Carousel of Progress, which was displaying the future of tomorrow from 5 years ago until recently. So now we have a new future. Hooray! So once Walt gets on board, once Walt starts designing his buildings, once Walt's rides arrive, people become completely invested. Major countries that didn't want to participate originally are kind of back in. They're like, so how do we circumvent the rules? How do we not get in trouble for this? As I said, Spain was already on the line. Spain said, to heck with it, we're going anyways. But certain countries like West Berlin and England, they sought out corporate sponsorships. They said, if we can't go and present directly, we're going to have somebody do it for us. So they fought for corporate sponsorships at this lovely World's Fair, and it turned out to be a fantastic hit by the end of the event. Now, as we know, from Spain, they bring their lovely tapas, they bring their dancers. Shameless plug for a moment, we have our 16th floor dining experience called Toledo. Toledo was the tapas bar that was brought to that World's Fair. We decided to take that name, make it our top floor dining experience. It's a fantastic adventure to enjoy and discover. Connected to Toledo is Dahlia Lounge. Salvador Dali and Walt had the pleasure of making a movie together. Two very vivid creative minds. Unfortunately, Walt passed away before it was finished, but Roy took it upon himself to finish that movie. So it is a fantastic 5-minute adventure of just pure chaos. If anybody ever wants to go and watch that movie, they showed up there continuously on the movie. So we're going to pull back that shameless plug. So they got their dancers, they have their tapas, and of course they brought delicious sangrias. And sangrias are a massive hit at this event. The Spanish Pavilion is turning out sangria like we never have before. Us as Americans are like, where do we get this? How do you make this? What are you guys throwing together to make this happen? And they're like, what do you mean? There's like a bodega right down the road. They probably have a really good sangria if you just ask. And it just takes America by storm essentially at this point. We're super excited for it as a beverage. So when we're looking back at the history of how sangria evolved and how we are enjoying sangria here today on this lovely Sunday, we can backtrack. We can thank the state of New York for being super stubborn. We can thank Spain as a country for coming and enjoying and showcasing. We can thank the Spaniards for colonizing part of our area and introducing. We can thank the Phoenicians and the Romans for bringing delicious Spanish wines to light. We can thank the Romans in general for just pioneering the idea of a Hippocrates, right? So all of this lovely, super wild, weird, roundabout way is how Walt brings sangria to the lovely world of Disney. As we said at that time, Walt was trying to conceptualize and trying to visualize and get ideas for his utopia. And by the end of that World's Fair, he had already had a design ready, set in motion. But unfortunately for us, Walt had passed away before that ever happened. But fortunately, because of that World's Fair, he was able to take those ideas and run with them and create something that is absolutely brilliant for us. So when we're talking about why we do things well, what we do things well with, how we got sangrias as an idea for what we want to pioneer and continue it forward with our adventure here at Villa del Lago, it's brought right to that exact same World's Fair. We took whatever we could from the Spanish Pavilion and we want to make it better. And that's what you guys are about to do here in just a moment.
Yeah!
The best part of class, right? More drinking! So at this point, you have not touched your fruit, you have not touched your juices for a reason, because we will be using those fruits and those juices inside of our delicious sangrias we're about to make. Now, as I said, I've been teaching this class since 2019, every Sunday religiously, and the beautiful part about it is I get to see how wild, how creative, how innovative you guys are. I get to see the pioneer, how you guys pioneer flavors. I get to see what flavors are emerging into the world of cocktails. You gotta follow trends. So it's absolutely fantastic. So what's going to happen is everybody will choose base one, your own accord. It's not as a table, it's as a person. And then you will choose your spirit or spirits plural. Now when I talk about spirits or spirits plural, typically two is the line when it comes to a decent individual glass of sangria. That being said, I've had somebody do up to 7, and at that point became a Long Island sangria. But certain things work for you more personally. I've had people try scotch. I'm not a big scotch drinker, but they like how they turned it out. If you like margaritas, mixing tequila has not turned out awfully in certain sangrias. So it's your flavor. Think about how you want to create it. Right now in front of you guys, you have, I believe it is a... Your red is your cranberry, your orange is your mango, so essentially your orange to sweeten, your red to make it a little bit more tart. Your fruits are there to kind of help inspire and guide you along the ways. So what I'm going to do is give you guys some time to talk amongst each other, gather ideas of what you want to create. As I said, I've made old-fashioned inspired sangrias. I made Godfather-inspired sangrias, Mojito-inspired sangrias, whatever you enjoy in your typical everyday drinking, or even if you don't enjoy, there's certain people that have done a coffee and chocolate sangria, which was pretty impressive. Think about what you love, think about what you want to create, and then we'll go around, we'll get you ordered, we'll get you guys to the rest of your afternoon shortly after. Sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Perfect. I thank you for your afternoon. Give me a moment, we'll get the ball rolling. Yay!
The therapist is in.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny that, I mean, it's not my favorite, but, you know, I don't drink a red wine at all, but I like red sangria.
It's nice.
I think because I like sweet, and so when you do the sangria, it just makes the red sweeter.
I mean, typically you can try to find sweet reds. They're not super common, but they exist still in the world.
Right.
We have a very sugary sweet Pinot Noir that we offer here.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is not real wine, but I drink red Moscato.
Okay.
So, but do you have any clue what red Moscato is? Is it like they just food color it red?
No. It's I know the concept of it. I don't follow it completely, but I know that it's still similar to our this white Moscato trace. It's just a different style of Moscato.
Most red drinkers will say that's sacrilege.
Right.
Drink red Moscato. Yeah, but I do Moscato pink, white, and red. But it's probably all like similar. It's just a little bit different. But you can tell the difference between the pink and the white and the red. The red is definitely heavier. I always drink red Moscato in the winter. And so you can tell there's a difference, but most red drinkers say that that's nowhere near red, right? But I would say
no, absolutely not, man.
but I would say my absolute favorite is
the sparkling? Okay. So the beautiful part about like the sparkling, right, is the sparkling is light enough that you could blend almost every flavor into there, as long as it's not a super bold flavor, like a scotch, for instance. So we have, so included is your triple sec, your apricot brandy, and your peach schnapps. Outside of that, your first shot is $5, and then your second shot is regular price. But as we reference your alcohol, right? We have the Pêche de Vin, which is the peach liqueur. That's the high-end version of a peach schnapps, right? With the peach schnapps, you're just getting pure sugar, to where the Pêche is just, if you were to take essentially like a quarter of your peach and just use that and shake it in your drink, like you're getting all of that peach essence out of that, not just the sugar factor of it. So there's like the plus and like the regular, but there's other flavors like Midori melon, for instance, works fantastic in the sparkling. If you want to go with a blue, like a blue carousel would make like that pop. So visually, it's an orange in flavor, but visually it's an impressive sangria. So there's certain things that you can do and take that maybe work better for yourself. That still stay sweet and like Moscato blend, but just have a different style of sweetness.
I mean, I do like the peach a lot because when I tell you I drink Moscato at home, I actually drink what you would say wine spritzers, and I mix peach sparkling water with my Moscato because Moscato and peach tend to go together a lot. So I do like the peach, but because I already have the peach, like I want to try something different, right?
I mean, so I say your mango, your cranberry, like we can get a little bit more adventurous.
So, like for instance, right, I have a creme de mure, which is a blackberry liqueur, right? Blackberry liqueur in general works wonderful with a sparkling in both flavor and tone. But if you want to sweeten it up a little bit, then I still have things like a simple syrup to kind of add that little bit extra to it. Or I could even look at my purees and be like, well, I might be able to have something else that might blend with that flavor as well. So it's up to you. Whatever flavor you want to evolve in your sparkling, almost everything works, whether it be fruity, floral, citrusy. You're not going to make
I would say I like fruity more than I like anything.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm not a floral. Citrus is good too, but I would say I like fruity. So maybe the blackberry you had mentioned.
You want to try the
Yeah,
blackberry?
sure.
For sure. All right, sparkling wine and the blackberry, super straightforward. You're gonna love it. For yourself?
I'm a bourbon guy.
Okay. So I referenced the old-fashioned one. It's because along my history of, I am a bourbon person as well. Like typically, if I'm enjoying sangria, that's good. But I'm significantly more happy in my wheelhouse of bourbons, whiskeys. But we've had the pleasure of being able to take that flavor and practice and evolve and figure out what works and what works the best, right? So you're talking typically a red wine as your base because it is the most bold. So it blends more than the other ones. Like if you were to put the bourbon inside of the sparkling, like it's just gonna override that whole flavor. So we would go with the red just because it is more moldable to the bourbon flavor. From there, I give you a little bit of Luxardo and a little bit of bitters. And so you're having your red wine, your bitters.
It's basically an old-fashioned with wine.
Yeah, 100%. All that matters is what you want is your preference of bourbon. I've got Maker's Mark.
Do you have Disney Select Knob Creek?
I see the
I
bottle.
do see the bottle myself.
I'm not supposed to, but
I've got four
I
at
will
home. I
not-
need one.
Just bring it with you next class.
When you first reopened from the pandemic, they were selling it at Panchitos for $2.
What?
Yeah. My buddy,
Right after the NBA.
my best friend is Big G from Barcelona.
Okay.
I don't know if you know the bartender of Barcelona.
He's worked over here before they
I probably have to see him. A lot of like we.
Big dude. So he called me and said, Panchitos has
That's
Disney Select for
that's
32
less than a
bucks.
normal bottle.
Yeah, no, a normal bottle is $42.
Right.
So I think I probably had 20.
You had a lot.
bottles.
Every time he got here, every time we came,
I'd
we
buy
came here a
everything
lot.
they had.
He'd buy
I
everything.
don't blame
And
him.
so-
It's like me with Buffalo Trace. Anytime I go to the store and I see like a significant amount of bottles, usually I'll buy 4 just to make sure I have my own stock out of it.
So we came back and they had 4 bottles. I said, I'll take all 4. And the guy's like, 670.
Not
Whoa.
600, but
They finally caught on.
Like it was $32 a bottle. He said, no, it's 76 now. I was like, all right, I'll take 2.
Right.
but yeah.
And then now they're just gone. I mean, you can hardly find them at a bar.
No, we have a pretty good stock consistently, but we are a convention-based resort. It's not just leisure travelers, and strong spirits like that cater to your convention guests. Like they want like the creme de la creme.
Yeah, they had them at Yacht Club, apparently. They had them
And
at
I tell
Yacht
you,
Club.
the little carts
And
at Disney
Springs
Springs,
had them.
because nobody orders it there. You don't think to add a $17 shot to
Right.
So they just haven't
bourbon
gone
and
through the box.
Coke, you know what I mean? They're,
But I mean, everywhere else, you ask and you can't
they're
get it.
out.
Hey,
We haven't had it.
I have to keep looking at the stalls.
I got some.
I get excited when I see Buffalo on a stall. I'm like, oh, Buffalo, you picked the right bottle.
Because I can get Buffalo Trace that's going out of style at home. And what's the one I keep getting for? Oh, Eagle Rare.
Yo, you're right.
He calls me, your liquor store got Eagle Rare? Yeah. $29 a bottle, dude. Go in and
good
buy
for the
everything
price.
they have. I'll Venmo you right now. But then you guys have that little ABC store that's right out the back gate.
Yeah.
That place has, well, I haven't seen Weller's in Atlanta in 10 years.
Well, they're pretty good about
They got a
ordering.
whole
Like,
stock over there. I'm like, this is awesome. So, all right, sorry to manipulate.
no, you're good. You're good. So are you set on the Disney Select?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
There's absolutely no question.
Yeah, normally, like, my other lead would be like, well, you're not supposed to pour this, but it's one of those, like, yeah, if I get on the bar at the right time. All right, friends, we're going to make sure you enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, so we just picked out our base spirits and our wine that are going to go into our sangria that we're going to make ourselves. Renee chose a blackberry liqueur and sparkling.
Sparkling wine, yeah.
And I went, wasn't supposed to get it, but guess who did? I went with a red and the Disney Select Knob Creek, which I was told you're not supposed to be able to do here, but for a couple extra bucks, they're gonna let me do it. So, I'm gonna make an old-fashioned sangria. I can't wait to mix this up and give it a try. All right, so here we go. We have our ingredients to start making our sangrias. And because, like I said, I'm gonna make the old-fashioned, I start off with a base red wine. Disney Select Knob Creek. It's taking everything I have to not just turn this up and sip it, and I think I'm gonna. You guys know me. This is my favorite bourbon in the world. Woo. So I'm gonna add that.
Strong. I can smell it.
I have a little bit of bitters. And add that just a little bit. And then we have our fruit juices that we're gonna add to it. But I think first, I'm gonna add a little bit of raspberry. I don't know why, something just told me raspberry might be good. And this is mango.
That was mango.
And what is the other one?
I can't remember what it said. Strawberry?
It's not strawberry. I'm gonna go with the mango, I think. Add that in there. He said not to add it all at once, but I did. I'm gonna give it a little mix. Wow, that is surprisingly good. You want to give it a try?
No, I do not.
Just take a sip.
Thank
Just
you.
take a sip.
No, because I smelled it, and that's good
It
enough.
smells like bourbon.
It sure does. Okay, I got the sparkling as my base, and I got blackberry liqueur. I got blackberry liqueur, I believe, for my spirit. So, all right. And then, let's see.
That's the mango.
I mean, they're both really good. Like, I want to add both, I think. So
Add them both.
So I might add a little of both.
He said add to taste, don't pour it all in at once.
So
I poured it all in at once. I don't follow directions.
We're gonna see how that goes. I think I definitely need to add more. I mean, it's good, but it's not as fruity as I think the sangria should be, so I'm gonna add some more juice. But it is very good.
I'm gonna add a little more juice to mine as well.
I'll probably just end up throwing all the juices in there, but I'm just going slow. I mean, it's good, but I'm just gonna put them all. I'm just gonna put all the juice. Let me try more of the mango. I'm just putting it all in there. Mama likes fruit juice.
Mama likes fruit juice.
I can try that. That's very refreshing.
Give that a
it's
try.
very refreshing.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, so then do some strawberries. And I'm gonna do the berries as well because I like all of that. So there we go. Perfection.
And cheers. And there you go. That is going to wrap it up for us here at Sangria University. I've got to say, this was really something special, and I'm glad we did it. We've been wanting to do it for a long time.
Absolutely.
We tried to do it before the pandemic, couldn't do it. Now that pandemic's over, everything's open back up. We did it, and it is absolutely the best way to spend. I guess we got here at 1:30. It's 3:30 now, so about 2 hours. Really, really cool. And I think we're gonna start making sangria at home a little more. Like Renee said, the one I made for myself and the one she made for herself are better than any of the ones that we had in the flight whenever we got here. And we really like the sangrias that you get here at Three Bridges. But being able to customize it to your taste really, really, really made it special. And being able to use the Disney Select Knob Creek that I wasn't supposed to be able to get, but I got anyway, made it even better. So again, cheers, and as we always say, don't forget to share the magic.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Ann.
We're from Oregon. And don't forget to share the magic.
Main Street, party of four.